The first time I saw Joseph Campbell, the late Joseph Campbell, comparative mythologist, speak on public television, I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. I was very much based in reason, and what he was saying didn't sound reasonable, but it sounded like he knew what he was talking about. And so I spent some time looking into it, reading up on it, and realized that there was a whole world that I had failed to acknowledge, and it had a profound effect on me. It got me looking at myths and aspects of the human psychology which I hadn't really considered before. So I've been thinking about things. Now, Campbell said that no society lives without myths. And it occurs to me that there are some myths in Western society that were very good for conquering, exploring, and that these myths carried on, not just in our activities, but in our arts and literature. And even though it may sound like a silly example, I don't think it is. If you look at, for example, Star Trek television shows and movies, it's based on the idea of a bunch of cowboys out in space. That's what Gene Roddenberry originally came up with. And if you look at the mythos underneath that, it's that we are here to explore, to conquer, to go places. Now, I know conquer is a strong word, but I think it's there somehow. Man, that Federation, you know, if you really look at it, they're really fair and all that, but they're fucking taking over the universe. And that's why the Borg came along. But we've run out of room in this planet. And it isn't just room as far as the number of people. It has to do with resources, with food, with climate change, with energy. And it occurs to me that this kind of mythos is not very useful anymore. And you know, it sort of went on with the space program. I'm like, when U.S. landed on the moon, man, that was great. You know, we beat the Russians, and it's, you know, victory and all, and then we're going to keep going. That's the feeling, because that's what we did. That's what Western civilization did. At the same time, a lot of American Indians had a very different perspective toward things. Now, it wasn't that they weren't violent. They were extremely violent, some of the tribes, but they had a sense of sustainability to the earth, and there was a sacredness involved in the way they looked at the earth. And they were essentially not out to conquer. They had a notion that they didn't even own the land, that they were just essentially borrowing it. And they would pass it on to the next generation in as good a shape as they had gotten it from their forefathers. And that the earth was something spiritual, that nature was something spiritual. And to some extent, we've tried to do stuff like that. The concept of Gaia, for instance, where the earth is a living being, I think that gets to that. I don't think that's a rational concept. I think that's a mythological concept. And the idea is to treat it with respect. And this is something that occurs to me. Life, you know, life is life. Life is like a rock. It's just more complicated. And you don't have to treat it with respect, but a lot of us have that feeling because of our natures, the way we've evolved, that there is something important about life. Hopefully something sacred, not just human life, but other life, and perhaps the planet too. And I know Neil deGrasse Tyson says that, well, we have to, you know, we really should go out and explore the universe as a manned space program, that this will inspire people. And you know what? It will. But there's a problem with that. I've listened to his logic many, many times, and I disagree with him. He says we need that to get people into science, and it's true. If you send machines out there, it won't inspire people like if you send human beings. But there's a problem. There's no fucking place for us to go right now. We don't have the resources right now, and I'd like to change the direction. I'd like to change the direction by looking at creating this notion of sacredness having to do with sustainability. Not just for those that are alive now, but for all the future generations, that what should be sacred, and this should become a mythology, because if it's rational, if it's just explained, hey man, we're running out of energy, we're fucking up the climate, we can't feed people, they're starving. It's not just the production of food, it's the distribution of food. We're fucking everything up. And people go, yeah, you know, right. But human beings, unless it's critical, are evolved not to feel like they have to respond. And rationality is such a poor way to get people to respond. And I'm not talking about religion. Certainly the American Indians were religious. But you don't have to be religious to feel a sense of sacredness. I feel a sense of sacredness. I'm an atheist. I'd like to have folks feel a sacredness for this whole fucking planet, for what we're doing, for how we treat people, for how we treat animals, for all those people to come, because, not because it necessarily is sacred, because there's no argument for that, in my opinion, but because we choose it to be sacred, we choose life to be sacred, and we feel that responsibility. And it's not rational, it has to be something from the heart. We should educate people this way. We should indoctrinate people this way. I know that's a bad word, but we should. Because it would make the world a better place. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. The answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42. But I think it should be something else.